So consider something. What's the difference between living in poverty and living in debt? When we look at it from an agricultural perspective, or the context of agriculture, we see that, let's say, migrant farm workers forced to work on large-scale commercial farming businesses oftentimes live in poverty, whereas American land-owning white commodity farmers or cattle ranchers often live in debt. Now, neither one of them is optimal. Nobody wants to live in poverty or debt, but I think it's important that we look at the difference. Poverty often comes about because of some sort of dominating colonial takeover or financial fraud, and the people are left with nothing whatsoever. No housing, no energy, no transportation, no clothing. That's poverty. And it's oftentimes against one's will. Whereas debt, living in debt, is oftentimes a choice where people take on debt to finance a business or finance an idea, which means they often have something to leverage, like land, like real estate. And though they are losing money, they're still able to maintain a roof over their head, transportation, the ability to shop and spend money. Today, there was an amazing webinar about the soil food web. And Dr. Elaine Ingham, John Liu, and Sadhguru were the speakers. And so many of the things that they brought up were so amazing. And as a grower here in Atlanta, Georgia, 2 generations removed from being a farmland owner, I was doing my best to contextualize things. And as I heard them speaking about their successes, their large-scale successes in different parts of the world where farmers have come together and regenerated large tracts of land, and Dr. Ingham saying that it only really takes one growing season when the soil food web is restored to see gains in yields and no losses in profits. And it made me wonder, well, what's the issue then? Why haven't we seen a large-scale transformation here in the United States? Because the United States agricultural farming sector has a very unique history where agriculture has been central to genocide, the creation of capitalist, terroristic, suppressive, repressive structures, and central to the financial disparities that exist along racial lines here in this country. So therefore, when you come to American farmers, we're not a monolithic group. There are people who are very interested in farming, very interested in doing regenerative agriculture, very interested in transforming from a commercial toxic way of doing things, and they have owned land in their family for years. They have a family tradition of agriculture from a parent to a grandparent, and they are often European descendants of colonizers or immigrants. Whereas the people who are the indigenous people here, who are often mistaken as black people, or the indigenous people here who are often mistaken as immigrants from South and Central America or Mexico, many of us have a calling to do this work and have the skill set to do this work and have a ancestral history of doing this work. And we find ourselves blocked because of a lack of access to land that is leveraged for debt, that is used to finance businesses. So then John Liu said something very, to me, profound. He said, look, if any of us who are talking about rebuilding the ecology and restoring the ecology, we have to also be talking about peace, restoring peace. Well, what has been the central core of violence here within our national borders? It has been the European colonization, genocide, murder, rape, and theft of and from indigenous people, and then the misrepresentation of us as black people, which don't have a country, which don't have a landmass, which have never owned anything. And that has gone on with police brutality, that's gone on with illegal financial fraud within the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's just evolved and evolved and evolved. And so now we have people who are 2 or 3 generations not only removed from farming, but removed from owning land, owning large tracts of land. And then we see a new group of people, young white farmers, who are interested in doing regenerative agriculture and already have land in their family that is stolen property, and then can find online multiple resources that are directed towards their cultural understanding and begin this process. They can find access to loans, to grant money, to help, all of which they say is available for everybody. But as we know, without being in these networks, you don't know anything. These are just some thoughts. We'll go deeper on our Patreon page. Thank you for all the support. Grow where you are.